Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello. Well, how was I think your week? So you didn't have any class, but some office hours, I believe.
Hard for me.
Hard.
I
All right.
forgot everything I learned before.
No
Yeah.
worries. No worries. Yeah. All right. Okay. So in this lesson, we'll be solving some projects like the iOS calculator and the to-do app. So we will start with the iOS calculator. It's in your GitHub repo in Clarusway, and then in the JavaScript folder we have projects, and then we have now iOS calculator. I believe you've tried on it, I guess. So if you open this, you will see one expected outcome here, and then you can simply check how this app at the end should look like. Well, it's not very hard one. It's just it's actually hard, but not harder. Like because you have just one number and one operator and another number and equation that gives the result. You don't continue adding or subtracting or multiplying anything. You just hit a number, an operator, second number, an equation, basically, an AC button clears the area. That's how it works. Here is one working example here. So, so here is the app. Let's try. So let's say 5 or 58, and then an operator plus. So it just move the number from here to here with an operator, and then it's expecting the second number. So let's say 89. So that's my second number, and then equal, and it gives the result 148. So when you click AC again, then it just clears the area. That's the basic function. So we will develop the minimum viable product first. And if you have time after to do application, so we can continue adding some features on it. But I believe we have just enough time to build this application only, because there's HTML, there's CSS, and also we'll focus on JavaScript part as well. I will explain every step that, from starting from the logic actually, and then how I turn this logic into programming languages. But of course, you can try because there's not only one solution here. You can try a lot of different solutions. You can try. I can give you advice like how can you alter this application that I'm building? How can you like maybe I will use switch case and you can use another thing. So anyway, but so let's get started. You will get the point, and then even if this is the same result, I don't know. So let's start anyway. All right. So yeah, it's not easy, right? But we will go through just a minimum one as like getting a number or few numbers. So it's just a number with few digits, and then just expecting an operand, and after that expecting the second number. So then just equal sign, then here you got. So but if you can add more, for example, let's clear this out, and then let's say we have a number, you add, and then another number, and add, but that it doesn't work in here. So you can click the plus sign again, and it add this number to the 85, then continue adding another number. But here, it doesn't work. Yeah, so it's just, let's say, oops, it's giving an error because of the timing here, because it's rapidly running, this one. So that's why just, using my memory, and then sometimes later, the browser just give an empty screen. But anyway, so we will not implement the stop here, but you can continue doing it, like implementing a clock here. So let me show you again. So we have a number, we have an operand, and then after that, expecting another number. Here in this application, it doesn't get any extra operand after this. Just take one operation, so it doesn't take any more. So in your solution, you can try to add more. So basically, it's just calculate with the first number with the second number. That's it. Like the basic calculator you have done in the previous exercise. It's just a little bit, this HTML CSS version of it, basically. So let's clear this. All right. So let's analyze the app first. Okay. So we have a calculator area here, right? In a container. So we can say is this main container is the calculator area. So meanwhile, we can open Visual Studio. Visual Studio. Yeah, your questions are important to understand the project well. So anytime you can ask any question you wonder. So let me open my Visual Studio first. As always, I will create a folder on my desktop. So any folder. So let's say it is the iOS calculator. If you are using iOS, actually, you know that this is not exact iOS calculator. It's kind of a mix of Android and iOS calculator. iOS calculator. Because in iOS calculator, originally you can look at your calculator app. There is no second line in iOS calculator. This is in Android. So I think we have a mixture of Android and iOS calculator. But anyway, it looks like an iOS calculator, but it functions like an Android calculator. Let's refresh and then let's continue with the Visual Studio. So where's my Visual Studio? Here it is. Okay, now let's just put in here and also here and just move it to the right here and just make it smaller. Okay. Yeah. Also open this here, just a drag and drop to the area. So I've got this. So here is my iOS calculator is an empty folder. I have nothing in it. So I will start creating my first index.html file. So, okay, so the first file is our index.html. Well, if you want to join me, I can share my coding with you. So you can copy paste anytime if you need my code. So I can just click the live share and let it just log in. Okay, now the link that I'm now sending you, if you click, it will ask you, I believe, to log in, or you can skip logging in. It will help you to just see my codes, what exactly the live when I'm typing. The last time nobody connected, but this time maybe you would like to. Maybe, I'm not sure. Let me share. Let's select. Okay, the class chat. Okay, here is the link that will allow you to join me in the live session, live coding session. So you can anytime copy paste my link if you want. So first, let's create our index.html file. Well, let's structure the app first. So again, with an exclamation mark, it will just bring up a very nice boilerplate for me. So I will keep this exactly the same, and I will just change this to iOS calculator. So, all right. Now, I think I don't need anything else for this area, but now inside the body, let's continue building the app. Okay, first of all, what I have here is, okay, I can see the area with a number. Well, but if I enter a number in just an operator, so I have two lines here actually. So I have exactly two elements here. The one element here, the another element is here. So that's why in this blank area, we don't have only an element, but we have two different elements. So I will create two different divs for these sections. So I will call this div a secondary numbers maybe, and then I can say here the primary numbers, or just say primary area or display. So I will give two different class names to these two different areas. So inside the body, I'm going to create two divs. One div, again, I will give a class name secondary display. So I will call this area secondary display, and I will call this area primary display. So secondary display. Okay, here is my first div with a secondary display. And now I will create my primary display for this area. Because when I type first, it displays primarily in here. So I think it's meaningful. So this is the primary display. All right, so that's the primary display. That's it. So I have now two different divs. I don't need to encapsulate with any other wrapper or container because it's already inside the body. So well, I know I have some padding here from the right and top, and I also have some padding from the top here. So anyway, I will do that inside the body. So that's why I'm not going to encapsulate something like main tags. So no, just I have simply two div tags inside the body, no wrapper for it. Okay, next, I have buttons. So you can see I have a pattern of buttons. So there's a nice pattern here, exactly, the same gap between the buttons and also the vertically the same the margin that we have here. Well, it just reminds me that I can use CSS grid here, which will be much more easier to align these buttons very well. So that's why I'll be using grid here. But before the grid, first of all, I need the container for this area. So this area will be the buttons container. Okay, so this area will be buttons container. So every other element here is the button itself. So first, let's create a class button containers, buttons containers, buttons container, buttons, okay, container. And then here is my button container. So inside this button container, I will create 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think almost 20 buttons, but except one, so 19 buttons that I will have here. So I will create 19 separate divs here. Okay, so just make sure it's the 4 here, 5 here, total is 20. So we have one missing, so it's 19, I believe. So what I will do, I'll just type a div first, because they're all button. I will just say button, and then I will use a asterisk for the multiplication. I need 19 of them. When I just hit tab, then it will create me 19 divs with a class of button. Here it is, a magic. All right. So then I'll be starting to entering whatever I see here. So I'll be starting with the AC and then going this way, and then I will get back to this way, and then I will continue this way, and again here, and then continue here, and then here, and then I will continue again this direction, and I will get back here, and I will continue this direction. So I will have the AC, so that's the first. So when I hit tab, the good thing is that you will jump in to the next div, so you don't have to go and click. I'm using my keyboard and just hitting tab. That's because I just use this string here. So if you type this and if you hit tab, then you can automatically jump into the other divs by using your tab key on the keyboard. So let's get back. Okay, let's continue. AC is the first text. The next is plus minus sign. I'm not sure if I have that sign, but I can copy and paste from internet. So it's plus minus sign, basically, what is called plus minus, and a percentage. And okay, that another sign we are not familiar with too much. So let's get back here. I will just basically copy paste this, the division sign here. Okay, so that's my division sign. Continue with the 7, because I'm now jumping from here to here. 7, next is 8, next is 9, next is times, which is X basically. You can use capital X or you can use just X if you want. Continue with the 4, of course, and continue with 5, 6, and plus. And then continue with 4. You know, we have 1 now. Okay, next 1, 2, 3, and minus, and then 0, and then dot. We can decimal point, let's say. Oops, decimal point. And I think I'll jump into the last one, which is equal sign. Well, I think that's all. Right. So maybe if you just want to make this exactly the same thing like we see here, but I'm not sure if if we have in the iOS calculator here. No, we don't. So you don't have to include that one. So basically this. So what we have created is exactly what we see here. Okay, nicely done. So we have a secondary display here. You will now see, okay, so this is the secondary display, and then we have primary display here, and then we have buttons area, and inside this buttons area, container, sorry, we have all buttons and with the class of button basically. So that's it, I believe. So let's see how it looks like. Actually, it doesn't look anything, but anyway, so let's just open it in here, the basically drag and drop, and then there you go. Nothing exactly look like a calculator yet. Okay, maybe I can right click and say live share, open with live server. Yeah, sorry, not live share, but live server. Okay, here it is. Basically, I can see we have 2 people, and I think you are seeing it, right? So anytime you can basically copy paste my code as I type in here. Okay, it's not finished. That's because in this app here, the buttons act differently. For example, these are number buttons, right? So these are number buttons, and also this and this has the same gray color. But here is orange colors. These are the operators, and actually this is an operator, but it's a equal sign anyway. And these are some other functional buttons, clearing, just converting the plus minus a number. I'm not sure if you can implement this now today, but let's see. And Barry said that we will not implement this percentage yet, so you can try out in your own solution. Okay, let's just refresh it. All right, so then we'll give an extra class for these buttons to just make them, you know, in the CSS look differently, and also in JavaScript they will act differently as well. So that's why let's jump in to this div, and then it says button. Yes, they are all button because they're all square. They all have the same padding from the top and button. I don't know why it just stopped now. Okay, so because they have all the same paddings from the top, left, bottom, so they look very similar except the color. So that's why they're all button. But except including this button class, we have to add the function buttons, the function class, operator class for the operator buttons, number class for a number buttons, and of course decimal button for a decimal and equal for an equal, because they all do act differently. So they are numbers, yes, I know, so that's why I will add number class for the numbers. These are function buttons, so that's why I will add function buttons, function class for it, and an operator class for them, and equal and decimal separately, because equal sign does the final job, which just gives you the result. And again, the decimal point gives also the not giving a result, but it's not a number. But once you type in, it's just add this, you know, decimal point, then you can just continue adding, you know, after this point. So that they also do act differently. Maybe they have the same color, but in JavaScript it acts differently. So that's why let's just give their different classes. So this will be function. maybe I can show you one easy way to do that. For example, I'm going to add 3 function class to 1, 2, 3 here. So maybe if I remove this top section, maybe this, yeah, because of there's a digital clock here and it's the exact time that we have here. So if I remove this, maybe let's remove this top as well. I hope this doesn't crash now. Okay, let's see. Anyway, so here I will give function class to this 3 button. So that's why with option key on my Mac or alternate key on your Windows, hold down the Alt or Option key and select where you want to add your classes. So this is basically a multiple insert points that I have created. Now I have 3 different areas selected with Option key on Mac or alternate key on Windows. Again, I select the first place, and then I will hold my Option or Alt key on the Windows, select this 3 because I'm going to give the same function key class for them. So give a space and say function. Well, you don't have to do this way. You can basically type one function, copy and paste to the other places. That's the easiest one. So I'll just show you a trick here, what I do it, because sometimes students ask me how I do it. Okay, so that's the function keys. To just know them, what function key they are, I will also add, I will also add them. So this is the AC function key. So this is the plus minus function key, and this is the percent function key. Okay. So this is what I will do. Is basically this class name. So I have given 3 class names to these 3 different buttons. Next, this is the operator. So it's not a function, it's not a number. So I'm giving an operator. And then because it's the division, I will give another class name, division. That's it. So that is a button, but it's an operator button and it's division operator button. So if you remember from the last exercise, I'm using the same methodology, same convention as I am creating my classes. Okay, this 7 is a number, but I'm not going to give any 7 class for this because I can identify with its content. This one. Yes, I could do them here, but you will get why I just give them a name. Okay, so of course this 8 and 9 is number. So this is again an operator, and it's the multiplication operator. So I will say operator, and then it's the multiplication operator. I think it's correct. So these are all numbers again, 4, 5, and 6. So I will give a number class for them. Again, this is an operator, but this time it's an addition operator. So I will say operator, and it's addition. But this 1, 2, and 3 is also a number. So it's just a class name. They don't work now, yes, because they are just class names, and I didn't write any CSS yet, but soon I'll be doing it. Of course, this is another operator, is the minus subtraction, basically operator. So I will say operator once again, but this time it's subtraction. I think is correct, subtraction. And finally, I will say this is a number, but I will make an exception here for 0. I will type 0 because 0 is important. If your number is 0, if you type 0 again, it doesn't add 0 to the 0. So it's just 0 and always be 0. But if you type any other numbers, it will just replace the 0 with the first number you typed in. Then you can add 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 to the first number if it is not 0. So that's why 0 here plays an important job. So that's why I just think that it's good to have them as to giving a 0. Of course, because I built this before, I'm showing it. I know I have to add the 0 because I don't want to waste your time to just jump back from JavaScript to CSS to HTML again. But usually, if you build this from scratch, you have no idea what class names you would give unless you did this earlier or several times. So that's why I know that I have to give this. Oops. Okay, I need to remove this area as well because of this. Maybe I can remove it from source code. That's more easy, yes? So let me remove it from the source code, then I can. So for the digital clock. Okay, let's do this. Save, refresh. It's still there. Okay, there. All right, perfect. Now we've removed the stop side because it's crash. It gives, error when it's just working here. Okay, perfect. Now it's 0 again with a let's say decimal point. We will say it's the button, but it's the decimal. It's a special one. It's not number. It's not operator. It's not function key. Well, it's not JavaScript function, by the way. These are the functional keys. So here is the button. So let's say decimal for it, and for the last one, I'm giving equal, as they are all acting differently in JavaScript side. So of course we have nothing changed yet. Now we will start designing with CSS. I think we are done with the HTML, so I can share my HTML code in the class chat. All right, by the way, is there any question until this point? Basically, HTML structure. Oh, if I change anything in HTML, I will keep updating it in the class chat. But again, if you click the link I've shared in the class chat, so you can click and you join, and you will see exactly what I have here. Okay. This is iOS calculator. HTML file. Okay, here you go. Okay, so that's the HTML. Let's create our CSS file quickly. It's basically style.css. Style.css is the name that I'm giving. All right, I believe we can open this as a separate tab and then just close the left side to see the structure, so we can see, and also let's see what it looks like. So then we can just give whatever we want. For first, I will start with the resetting. Okay, I will reset basically. So if you remember my basic reset tool, it's quickly removing the margins. Margin, it doesn't autocomplete. It's not good because I changed some rules in my settings, so that's why. Okay, so let's say margin 0. It will be quite difficult for me now because it doesn't autocomplete. Padding is also 0, and of course box sizing is going to be a border box, and then that's it. Save it. So that's the first thing that I will have is reset. Okay, so we can start with the body area, which is the black area that you see is the calculator base. So this calculator base doesn't have to be an exact height, but should have an exact width. There are several ways you can do it, but I think we are not too strict with any CSS rule here because the JavaScript functionality is the important. So that's why I'm not going to just concern about the responsivity here. I'll basically give a width and height so we can change later during the process. So this is body, yes. So let's start with the body. Okay, so this body, you can see. Wait, should we create a calculator area encapsulating with body? Just thinking that's because we are going to center it. Okay, sorry. I am going to encapsulate this area with an external div, not the body, because I have to keep the body with and height and exact width. So that's why I want to give another div for, let's say, calculator. So, and I will copy everything I have here in this calculator. So basically, this is the app. We have body, we have div. So this is the extra div I just created, and I will paste everything I typed before in here. Okay, now I can share my link in the class chat once again, just updated one. Okay, now I updating. Okay, updated my last message in the class chat. That's what I didn't think at the beginning, because we have the body area here, as you can see. So this is the body, and inside body we can see exactly we have another container, which I just missed. Sorry, but now it's okay. We can continue. Okay, inside the body, what I will make this body is
display flex.
yeah, thinking about display flex, but also I just think if I resize this, it just moves up. So maybe before this display flex thing, I'll just give some font type, basically, and some margin from top left button or something. We can give some padding from top left and right. So let's see, first of all, the body. Okay, so let's give the font type, but it doesn't autocomplete. Now it's really hard, because if you stick with the autocompletion, and if you do something wrong, it's wrong. Okay, font family. So that's going to be new. So that's a computer font. So that's why it's automatically get this font from your computer, and it's a sans serif. If there's no Helvetica on your computer, it will just grab any sans serif from your computer. Sorry, I'm a little bit sick. Feeling good, as you can see. All right, so that's my body, and also give some padding from top and left. Let's say 20 or 40 pixels. So let's try a padding, and this padding is going to be, let's say, 20. So we can start with the 20 and see what it looks like later. All right, so we have now nothing. That's because we didn't link the style to the index HTML, right? We have the title. After title, we need to link my CSS file to this HTML. So which is /style.css. Now, which one is selected? Okay, perfect. Now I think I have some paddings from top and right. We can increase it if you want. Let's make it 40. Okay. Still, there's no calculator yet. Okay, I'm just checking. We have 3 or 4 minutes to the break time. So let's give some shape to our calculator. Like this, so the black area. So let's create this black calculator area first. So this is the calculator class. And then this calculator class, let's give some width and height with the background black color. Okay, width like this. So it's okay. Width, let's give 500 pixels for width, and then some height, and we can change it later. This is just, you know, any numbers I'm giving. Let's say 1000 pixels for the head height, and let's give some background color. And then this is going to be black. Okay, so I hope now we have nothing. We have no width, we have no height, because that's correct, right? It's calculator class, background color black. It's not working. What do you think? Isn't it correct?
It's background. I think you missed G button.
Oh yes, thank you very much. Okay, the background color, so fine, but we can't see anything. So what we can do is convert the, we can jump in the body again and change the font color to white. Sorry, there's no font color, right? It's color. Let's say white. Okay, there you go. So we have white. Ooh, nice. Usually, when you become a developer, you are using your company's design system, and it's all already built for you. You're not dealing with any CSS tools because it's already been done there. So sometimes, like font color stuff, there's no font color stuff, so there's color stuff here. So it's sometimes confusing. And another point that I got really stick with the auto completion a lot. Now I'm figuring out, so it doesn't auto complete. I don't know, for some reason. But I hope, yeah, it will work anyway. So at the end of the day, so now let's give some border radius to the corners, and let's see. So we have border radius on the corner. We have some spacing here, as you can see, some padding here. What else we have? I think for now that's all. So let's give some border radius. So this border is, let's give 50 pixels, and then let's give some padding. Let's say 20 pixels for it, and I think it's okay for now. Let's just save and just see. Okay, we have border corners, we have some padding, you can see from top and bottom, and still we have nothing look like this calculator yet. And when we just open this page, it's the zero is just show up. So maybe we can also have that 0 here within the primary display. So here we have 0 and then buttons. Okay, perfect. Now, so that's my CSS file. That's my HTML file. I'll update my HTML file in the class chat, also the CSS, and I will see you 15 minutes later so we can have a break now. All right, see you soon. All right. So let's crack on. All right. So so we've done with the calculator area, and now we can continue with the showing the numbers and also our buttons. Okay. Now the magic will happen shortly. Okay, so this is the primary display, and there is a secondary display up here. So we will be now styling them first. then continue with the buttons. Okay, so the secondary display is on top, so we can start with the secondary display. Is it? Yes, display. All right, so secondary display. So the secondary display, we have some, again, some height. The width is full height width of the screen. So that's why I'm not touching any width. It's automatically 100%. But I will touch, of course, a height first because we need an area for the secondary display, which we don't have now. Okay, here it is. Okay, so almost the double size. So, let's say, okay, so just give, let's say, height. Let's give some, maybe we can give some text size first, but if you have text size and if there's no text, this area will be empty. So that's why I'm giving some height for it. Again, we can give a text size, but if there's no text, that area will be just collapsed. So that's why I just want to keep remain a space for them. So that's why I'm just giving some height, let's say 160 pixels for now. So as you can see, if we even have text, then we have some 160 pixels area for this. So continue. We can reduce it later. Anyway. So maybe, sorry, let's just make it 60. Okay, it's better. It's the secondary area, 60 pixels for height. And again, we can get the same font size for 60 pixels. Font size, 60 pixels as well. Okay. So now just keep it this way for now. And I will not touch anything yet. I will keep this styling as it is for now. Let's continue with the primary display. We have several different more rules here we will define, but now just keep it as it is. And now for the primary display, let's give some height for 120 pixels this time. So height is 120 pixels. And then again, the font size could be 120 again. Font size is 120 pixels again. So now we can see now we got a nice big 0 for the secondary primary display, and we have some here we usually don't, we now currently don't see, but if you type some number, you can see that's the secondary area. Yeah, it looks fine for me, but it's left aligned. So maybe we can text aligned right, because in our calculator is on the right hand side, so we can just move them to the right. Also, there's this area. So what we can say for the second display and primary display is the text align right. So, and also the same rule. And here it is. Okay. All right, looks nice. But we have no numbers on the secondary area, so just remove it. All right, now we come to the buttons. So these buttons will automatically reshape with grid. You can use flex, but it will take, but I think grid is much more easier when you use like a pattern. So there is a nice pattern here. So it's really, really simple to make it with grid. So I will pick the grid option instead of flex. You could do it with flex as well. But again, that grid makes it much more easy because there is a pattern here. So, okay. This is button container. So first of all, I need this buttons container to be grid. You know, there's a display flex, but this time it's become display grid. Okay, so let's select the area first. Buttons container. So within this buttons container, I'm going to now change the display from block, because currently the div is block. So I'm changing it to the grid. You know, for flex, we write here flex, but it's grid. Now, when I just change it to the grid, something will not happen yet here. That's because when I don't know if you studied the grid, but you can check on the internet. So when you have the grid, you have to define the rule, like how many columns and how many rows do you want. For example, in our the calculator app, we need 1, 2, 3, 4 columns and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. So that's how grid works. Because you set grid, it doesn't automatically define your rules. So if I think if you type the naming correctly, let's check again. Yeah, it doesn't do anything for us yet. But if you just say grid template, because this is a template, and the rows, how many rows do you want? Or just say, let's say, start with the columns. Columns. How many columns do you want? I want 5 columns. What you can do is here, you know, if you remember, you can say, you can use the fraction unit, like you can say 1FR, 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 1FR 5 times, which creates you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. Let's see. As you can see here, it creates you automatically 5 columns and equal columns, because you said 1 fraction, 1 fraction, 1 fraction. You can also do 100 pixels, 100 pixels, 100 pixels if you want. Let's say 100 pixels, 100 pixels, 100 pixels. Let's create 4 columns, because we have 400 pixels, and it will create you 100 pixels exact width with the grid system, as you can see. So that's basically, you can use a fraction if you want, or you can use exact size, which I'm going to use here. Okay, but you can again use 1 fraction if you want just equal size. So if you want to make it doubling the space, you can use 2 fraction for, let's say, the 0. So because 0 here is just having a 2 fraction, and the rest is 1, 1. So, but anyway, here I'm going to use exact sizing, but because it's a repetition of this 4 times, what I will do is write a function. We have CSS function repeat. So that repeat function will automatically repeat, let's say 4 times, and then comma 100 pixels. So this repeat function will repeat 100 pixels 4 times, like we did manually. 100 pixels, 100 pixels, 100 pixels, and 100 pixels. Instead, now we have a nice and clear option, which is repeat function. You can see exactly the same result. So now 100 pixels, 100 pixels, 100 pixels, and 100 pixels. Well, they don't look like a button yet. So let's complete with the rows as well, because we need 5 rows this time. So we will just say grid template rows, but this time repeat 5 times 100 pixels. So this time I am just repeating. I think I typed something wrong. Okay, this time it's repeated 5 times, again 100 pixels, so you can see nice squares around here. That's what I want my buttons to be exactly the same size. So that's basically the grid, and I think that's it. Oh, one more thing, but not now. But let's go and shape our buttons this time. So dot buttons. Is it button? Button, sorry, button. Let's shape our button now, so we can see better here. Okay, do you have any question about grid? That's it. So this is the simple grid rules that many developers uses. There are of course too many things to be considered, and you can go check in the internet. But again, this is basically what we overuse a lot during development. So if you have no question, let's check the class chat. Because we don't have too many here, so we can just unmute yourself and ask questions directly. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think Zamira has shared the website about grid. Thank you very much, Zamira. Okay. This time is buttons. Okay. First of all, I will design my buttons on the most common button type, which is this. So that's the most common button types with the background color. So then I can define different background colors for the functions and the operators. So, but first of all, excuse me, I will design every button as like a number button. So just say button, and let's give some background color for it. So let's give a gray color for it, which is #333. Because okay, let's continue. Let's have a font size for it, and let's say 42 pixels, I think. And then let's give some height for it, because I want my buttons to become 100 pixels square. So that's why I'm going to use 100 pixels for height, and also 100 pixels for width. 100 pixels for width. Okay. Is that enough? No. Let's just save and see how it looks like. So, okay, good. Not bad. But now this text should be centered, like Emirhan said earlier, the perfect center in the middle and also the center of the screen, which now we need, Emirhan.
Flex.
Flex, yes. Display flex to just make this text in the middle and in the center, okay? So align items center and justify content center. Nice. Now they are in the center, but it's square, and they have no margin between each button. Well, we can give margin button, margin right, but in grid we have a better option. Now I'm in the buttons container, not in the button, okay? Not in the button, but the buttons container. Because we define here a grid, we can say grid gap. Grid gap 20 pixels. So look what will happen. It will give 20 pixels for every single item here. So you don't have to worry about your spacing. The vertical and horizontal spacing automatically becomes 20 pixels. Of course, you can define differently, but basically we want them equally 20. Nice, right? So now our buttons are clearly seen and looks much beautiful. But again, we need a circle buttons instead of a rectangle buttons. So that's why now I'm jumping back to the button again, and I will just change the border radius, which is 0 currently. Sorry, border radius 50%. Then you will see nicely square circle buttons. Okay, so these are circular buttons now. Okay. All right. Maybe in the button container, I can have some margin top to give some spacing between 0. So for the buttons container again, let's give margin top. First, let's start 40 pixels. Okay, nice. So we have 40 pixels. All right, now let me share my CSS files in the class chat for you. Just updating my last file, last message about CSS. I'm not posting new message, just Zamira's, just above Zamira's message. And I've just updated the last CSS. Okay. So if you remember, we have different types of buttons, like function buttons and also the operator buttons. So the function buttons has different colors like this, and the operator buttons looks like an orange with a black colored text. So let's first define the function buttons, then the operator buttons. Okay, for the function buttons has a button class, and plus also have a function class. You can just directly select the function class if you want, but me, I like to mention the button first, then function. Sorry, like this is my choice. But again, you can just continue with just the function selector if you want. So the function buttons, this time, the background color is slightly different, a slightly light gray. Background color is slightly lighter than 333. So we can use here. So it's 3. So we can try 9999, maybe just 3 nines. Let's see how it looks like. It seems it didn't work.
There is
Why?
background. Yeah.
Thank you. So, okay. Yeah, the background. Okay, now it looks nice. Yeah, what we can 9 after 9 we have 0 is the black, 9 is the gray, and I think we have A after this is lighter than this. Like if you use AAA, so I think it's lighter than 9. B is a bit more lighter, so that's all up to you which color you like, but I think 999 was fine. Okay, and of course the text was black in our application, so we can just turn it to black. Sorry, color black, not black. Okay, so the color black. Okay, that's the function button. Of course, we need operator buttons to be an orange background, so we can say operator. It's very hard to spell when you speak. Operator. Okay, and then background color is now orange. I don't know if you say orange, does it look nice? Just say let's say orange first, and then the text is also black. Okay, nice. That's also fine. I think for 0 button, remember we give the 0 a different name because we all have the button numbers, but 0 has an extra class because it looks different than the others. 0 class here, as you see. So let's go and update this 0 in the class. So again, you can select the 0 directly like this, but I prefer to say button 0. There could be another 0 class there, so that's why it's good to have the button first, then the 0. Because they're in the same line, you shouldn't give a space. Okay, no space, just say button 0, because in the same inline, same class, okay, same element, sorry. Okay, now this time I know one button has 100 pixels width, and we have a 20 pixels gap between. If you remember, we have a grid gap 20 pixels. So in total, we have 220 pixels gap. So exactly, this is the width of the 0. So here, I will first say the button 0 is the width. Okay, 220 pixels. All right, you will see it doesn't really look nice. It's because we give 50% border radius. Let's just make it oval. But what I need is to change the border radius first to 55 pixels. We can change the 55 pixels. Let's try the 55 pixels first. Okay, now it's fine. But now it's overlapping with the decimal operator. That should be actually move to the third column, actually. This operator and the equal sign should just move to the next column. But now, because it's the same, the grid size for every element, 0 is basically overlapping this decimal point here. So what I will do, I will just adjust a little bit my grid column property here. So grid column, I'm individually updating this grid column to, we can say, I think grid column start, okay, 1, and grid column and 2. So here the grid column will start from the first and will end in the second one. So I can say this 0 button will use the grid column starting from 1 to 0. It just, take a space with two columns actually. So start from 1 and at 2. Let's see if that works. It seems it doesn't. That might be my fault. That because I think I'm writing something wrong here. What we can do, okay. What we can do, we can just basically say grid column, single property, shorthand property, and we can say 1 divided, so 1 of third, which means, oh wait, that was correct. I was going to say 3 actually. It should be 3. Yes, it should be 3. It's correct, but it's not 2. If you say 2, it starts with 1, and it should be end at 3, but before 3, not including 3. So if you say 1, 2, it's exactly taking 1 space. But if you say 1, 3, it starts from 1, ends at 3, but before 3, which is 2 actually. Okay, that's correct. We can also write the same rules with a shorthand, just saying grid column 1/3 like this. So it's also do the same thing. Start from 1, ends at 3. It's the same thing. I don't know which one is, look more easy for you. You can keep it. Okay, finally, I have done with my CSS. It looks fine, and it's like exactly the same calculator we have in iOS, I believe. Now, what we will do, the next is the JavaScript file, which now we are going to click some numbers and then just update here after an operator sign. Then we just move this text from here to the top. Then we will enter the second number and the equation will give the result. That's the JavaScript part now. But again, any question before we start the next part? Okay. Oh, when we click, look at this. So there's something happening. Like it just showed me that I click the button as it's just changing the color a little bit lighter when I click a button. So we can do it later. All right. That's the original one. That's ours. The other thing is just like selector. You can go and select this, but here you can't do anything. You can't select anything. So maybe when we reset all the tools, all the elements here, we can say user select none. So then, oops. So then you can't select anything. Okay. So if you turn this off, you can select because they are text. But if you turn this to the none, then you can't select anything. Nice. So we can extend this and just this. All right. Very nicely done, I believe. What do you think? Zamira, are you there, Zamira?
I am here.
Yeah. How is it? How was it?
It's really good. Yeah, I didn't do the calculator. I made the regular one
Yeah.
just to play with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's great. Looks great.
Grid is much easier to use.
It is. Yeah. Whenever you see a pattern, apply grid.
Okay.
When the grid box comes in the CSS, actually, in the CSS tree, before Flexbox, it was huge change in CSS. Everybody was talking about grids. But when Flex comes, now everybody's talking about Flex. But again, we can still use grids, as you can see, if there are patterns and like you can sometimes extend the one area to doubling the two. You can do it in the Flex as well. But grids make it much easier. If you see anywhere, any pattern, you can just see, okay, that's good. I can fix it with the grid. Sometimes you can see a form field, like a label and let's say the input box, a label and input box. So some input box is larger, some input box is smaller. Then you can apply grid box. And you can divide this grid into how many columns as you like. And like if you can even divide it split into the 12 columns, the 24 columns, is all up to you. And some of your rows or the items that you can extend with using the grid column start and end point. So basically you can just select, and even you can do it with the rows as well. So you can, let's say if it is the equal sign, so you can even make it with the rows. So you can basically like in the tables, col span, row span, if you remember, so that you can do it in the grid as well. And it's responsive. I didn't do anything in responsibility, but it's responsive. But tables aren't. Like table, TD, TR elements, they are not responsive. Okay, so that's the calculator. You can see that there's two extra black space. I will say white space. There's an empty area here. So maybe we can just reduce the app height or even we can just remove it. Let's check the calculator.
For
Yes.
some reason, I can't see the screen, and I try to rejoin the call.
Oops. Now you can. Yeah, sorry, I just paused.
No problem.
Yeah, okay, right. I mean, I was talking about this like a row span. So you can do it in the grid, grid column, grid row, and you can just start an ending point you can mention. Then you can anytime group the rows as you like. So if I remove the height, we will get exactly the same height, and it doesn't really bother me. This will look fine for me, I think. So let's just remove the height now. Okay, so let me update my CSS file in the class chat. Okay, update it. And also now we have 3. Okay, perfect. And if you join me here, you can copy paste directly. All right, I sometimes pair, the pair code. I think you have heard the pair coding. Sometimes with your colleagues in the company that you work, you do pair coding. You invite someone into your VS Code, and you can code at the same time. I didn't do it because I'm sharing with many people, but usually 2 or 3 people, we make it basically 2 people. We join, and then we can just pair coding. Sometimes you ask your colleague, and then he just fixed this for you. And then sometimes you can't figure out the solution, so you invite your colleague to jump in your coding session, and you can, like, maybe you try the Google Documents, so you can type at the same time. So that's the live share. That's the link I've shared with you. You clicked and join my session, but just for read only. So you can just copy paste whatever you like. All right, so now the JavaScript part. Well, don't scare off JavaScript first. And then when you jump in here, I will solve it. So you just have this feeling. If you do, you can solve it. Don't scare. But again, before we start any JavaScript, we have to analyze perfectly. And then, of course, we need to know JavaScript. So then we can use not only JavaScript, you can do it in Python as well, just understanding the programming concepts. And then I will convert my logic into the programming. It may take some time, don't worry. Just relax again, because when you just get stressed, you can't have a solution. So you have to be relaxed. The first rule is relax. You don't have to understand everything, but when you build more application, then you will get comfortable with the programming algorithm and logic. So then you can solve any question, any problem, anytime. So, but I will try to explain how the logic works again. So here, it's HTML file. So that's why I will use DOM in JavaScript, like selecting an area and then just altering the text in that area. For example, the first one is when you hit a number, when you just click a number. Okay, I'm saying click, so on click. Okay, we need a function on click. When you click a number, the first rule is to change the display area, the primary display area, to that number. So that's the first rule. Start from very basic. Don't think about these decimal points. Don't think about the zeros, okay? Like, you can't make it multi-zeros, but don't think about this logic. The first logic we have to focus on is when I click a number except 0 here, then I display the text in this area. That's the first small bit that we have to implement. I'm not sure if we can finish the to-do list today, but I think the to-do list is easier than this. But anyway, let's try to solve this. And I think it's the hardest one, I believe. So now we need that JavaScript file. I think I can close the style CSS now, and let's create a new JavaScript file, which is now going to be a script, or sometimes people say it's app.javascript. Currently, it becomes popular. They say app.js because you are building applications. Okay, so this is now app.js file, but we need to link that JS file to our HTML. And this time we'll use script. And then inside the script, we'll use src source. In the source, we are now selecting our app.js. I always alert to see if that works. Sorry, this one. Oh yes, it works. So I linked and it works. Remember, when I link a CSS file, I change background to the blue or red, so I can see it works. So I basically, in the JavaScript, just alert to see if that works or not. Okay, let's think about the logic. When you click a button, okay, how programming language understand you click a button? So what we call this point is event listener, right? So your app is going to listen the event. What event? Click event. What event? Type event. So there are lots of event types in JavaScript, in any programming language basically. But because the JavaScript is deal with the HTML, the front end side, it's just a click. So you can click, you can tap, you can scroll, you can slide. So there are too many types of effects out there. So you can just type a JavaScript event types. Anyway, but what we will listen is actually the click. But which one? The buttons. So every buttons here, we need to listen when they are clicked. So that's the first thing. I need to listen the buttons when they are clicked. When so, I need to get the type of the button. Is it a number? Is it a function? Is it operator? Is it 0? Is it decimal? Is it equal sign? Because these all button types do act differently, right? So that's why I need to define them. But again, let's go back and start just listening the items. But before we listen the button items, we first select the items from our HTML file. Like in CSS, we use the selectors to select an element and change the inside, change the properties. But in JavaScript, you basically say document get element by ID, and then give the ID number to get that element, hook that element in to the JavaScript. But here, we have no ID. We all have classes, right? So that's why I'm basically going to use the other selector, which is query selector, which I find much easy personally. Okay, so now, first, we need to get buttons. We need to bring them into the JavaScript from HTML file to the JavaScript with just saying, so we need a variable name, let's say const buttons, and then equal sign. Now I have a variable. Now I'm going to assign, grab all these items from the document, which is HTML file, document, query selector. Okay. And then I will say buttons container. In query selector, we can use the class name for dot, like CSS. So dot for classes. So it's buttons container. So you selected the buttons now. It's in the buttons. Okay, we got the buttons. Again, me, personally would like to see if I get the buttons correctly, to just console log them. So let's just console log basically to see if I got the correct buttons. Okay, now let's refresh, right click, inspect, console. Oh, buttons. Okay, it's null buttons container. We actually have buttons. We actually have buttons container. Let's check if I grab the wrong class name.
Maybe you can write query selector all.
Maybe, but it should work fine. No, nothing is wrong here. I've saved the document. Is there any
Can
problem?
you-
I can
Can
try
you
all.
leave the JavaScript in the bottom instead of in the beginning? Because like when I had that, it like work. For some reason, the DOM works like at the end, the script when you put it.
You
into-
are right. You are right. You are right. We should,
Why
yeah,
is
or
that so?
you can, I think you can use differ something, then it works like this.
Oh, okay.
But again, you are right. Yeah. It's better you move it to the back. It's good point here. Why? Okay, it's about DOM, D-O-M, DOM. You create your HTML, you have your JavaScript first without your HTML. So no, because your code is starting from the top to bottom. So it's just reading your content and get the app.js. App.js trying to get the document selector buttons container, where it is. It's after you include the script. So that's why it can't find where your buttons container is, because there's no buttons container up to this point, because you are just in the 9th line when your program is reading. But your body is starting from 11th. So that's why the app.js couldn't find, like Zamira said, it's good to have included to the bottom. Or you can add an attribute differ here to just stop that JavaScript work and let it work after the page loaded. So what differ means. So that both would work fine, but basic approach is to apply your JavaScript file before you close the body. That's the most common approach from many developers. All right, now it works. We have now all the buttons, and they are all object. So when I got them here, it's all now object. You can see something is wrong here. But anyway, the buttons container, we got the correct one, I guess. Yeah. All right. So we again need to have a break, right? We are now on the break time. So after the break time, let's make this calculator work. Right. So any question for the JavaScript stuff, like differing or just putting in the bottom of the page? But be careful, before closing the body, not after HTML. So just here. And that's it. Okay, so I'll see you again 15 minutes later. Just trying to differ here. It looks like giving the different result. Look, it gives me different results. Anyway, we will find. See you 15 minutes later. So so I decided to put that secret file at the end of the file. And I updated my HTML code in the class chat. So let's continue. I've selected the buttons, so it's automatically selected, all the buttons. What I will do now is add event listener to listen the click event, and I will just work if it is clicked. If any of this item is clicked, then it will just work right away. Okay, so I've seen that I've selected the buttons correctly. So the first thing was the selecting the buttons to get them and assign to a variable called buttons now. After that, now let's add some event listener for the button. Okay, so I have buttons, which is coming from the variable name. Buttons, add event listener. And this is a function itself. And within this functions, we can call it method actually. Within this method, I'm going to use which event would you like to listen? Click event, I want to listen. What would you like to do after clicked? So if it is clicked, run this function. You can write several different type of function expressions. That is the way that I want to follow here. There's actually arrow functions. But in this arrow function, maybe before jumping to the array function, just let me quickly show you how we do it exactly. So, you know, when you declare a function, you just say function, let's say ABC as the function name, and then parentheses for the function. Then you create this block, so it becomes a function. That's basically how we define a function, and this is the name of the function. But if you remember, we have anonymous functions, which has no name. Sometimes just function, like without a name, right? So, well, there's another way that function expression that we assign a function to a variable. So let's say const A, B, C, D this time, and then equals parentheses, and then arrow, and then curly braces. Well, this is actually the same as you define a function. Now, this time the function's name is ABCD, and then we have this parenthesis after the equal sign, assignment operator, and we have an arrow in between and the curly braces. Basically, this now we convert it. So let's convert because it's ABC. Let's use the same name. So let's do it. So first of all, let's copy this. You know, to make a function anonymous, you remove the name, so that function becomes anonymous because it has no name. So now just keep it over there. So ABC, remember our function was ABC, but now it's anonymous. Instead, I'm going to give this anonymous name to this const, this variable, and then forget about this, copy everything, whatever in the function from here and assign to here. Okay, so that is basically an anonymous function assigned to a variable. Now, is a shortcut is exactly the same name for the function. So whenever you want to call this function, you can now call ABC this. So that's the basically you call the function, invoke the function. Well, because the name is ABC. But in the previous example, it was this, right? Okay, in the function. In the previous example, ABC is the name of the function. You invoke the function as you invoke the function for this one. So again, I convert this type of function declaration to the function expression. But using this function expressions, I am now removing this function keyword and adding an arrow in between is exactly the same thing. Okay, so once again, I assign a function to a variable, which is function expressions, but to make it shortcut in ECMAScript 6, if you remember, there is a way that you can do in a arrow functions. Remove this function keyword from here, and then add a fat arrow here. Is the same thing, which means now you have an ABC is a function name, and this is the function. But this time, I don't need a name. I'm having this function, arrow function from here this time, and just move back to the function at event listener, comma, after a click event, run this function. Or let's get back again to this one. Okay, to this one. You know, how you invoke this ABC here, right? After a click event, I'm not invoking here. Now invoke ABC, which will do when you click any button here, will invoke this function in here. So I'm going going very simple. So I will just jump into this one later. Again, now I have added an event listener to the button. It's listening to click event, and it will run this function when it is clicked. So let's do something inside this function, alert, and say that hello. Let's see if that works. Now, if I click any button here, it should run this function, and this function will just invoke alert function for me to say hello. There you go, which means your function is working very well whenever you click this button area. Very nicely done, I believe. So when you click a button, so that works nicely. Okay, nice. Well, now let's move into this type. You can, so this is function declaration. So this is function expression, which means you assign a function, an anonymous function, to a variable. Then you can invoke as like you invoke ABC. Let's now comment this out, move this alert from here to here, and also, oops, remove them, make it work. All right, the same thing, but this is the variable name this time, but exactly the same invoke. So let's refresh and click and click. Oh yeah, one more thing. I need to do this before I invoke the event listener. Sorry, that's the function expressions. Now it will work. Refresh, click, hello. Click, hello. Okay. When you declare a function at the bottom of the file, that still works even if you call it in the beginning of the file. It's called hoisting. Forget about this terminology. But if you do it in the expressions, you need to declare it before you use the function. It works with this function declaration. It doesn't work with the function expression. So that's why I move it to the before I call the function. Okay, so then it works. It's the same thing. Now, the third step. Well, if I'm not going to reuse this function during the app, what I can do is let's convert this to a arrow function first. So remove this and let's make it arrow function. Okay, let's see if that works as well. It's still working. Very nice. That's fine. Now, if ABC is this function because of the equation assignment operator, so here is the ABC, right? ABC equals this. ABC assigned to this function. This function is assigned to ABC. Well, wherever I see ABC, I can copy and paste this. Copy and paste this because this is ABC. So that's why I just copy this part, which is equal to the ABC, to this. Now I don't need ABC. And let's try again. And go on. So hello, hello, hello. It works fine. I basically now use in listening a click event and run this function when it is clicked. So It's giving an alert. Well, instead of an alert, this time I want to get the type of the click event. So that's why I will basically use a parameter inside, let's say event, and instead let's console log event. Okay, now I include an event parameter, and I've just console log event to see what is the type of event. So let's console log, and then inside the console log, let's click an element. So this is a pointer event. It's trusted. Its pointer ID is 1 with 1, height 1, pressure 0, because we are not on the tablet. So you can even calculate the pressure, that how strong you pressed in. And you can see as an object, as an event object, tells you a lot, even where you exactly click in the x-axis and the y-axis. Did you use control click? So you can check if it is control click. Look at now. I now hold the control down, or let's say command down, and click the button and see the event if it is control correct. Control key false. Let's try with the control key. Click again. Oops, it didn't work. It's open, right click. Anyway, but you can see a lot of things, as well as the target, which is the element that you have clicked. So let's see if we can see the element target. Yeah, here's the target. Which element you have clicked? Oh, this element I have clicked. That's correct. And I can get the value or the text of this element. So again, remember, this is console log event. So whenever you type here, let's clear that out. Okay. Okay, now, all right, look, whenever you click an element, an item here, it just console log the event to you because you are listening an event, and this is basically an event parameter like let's, if we get back. Okay, look at this. Because I can't call it, I have to use it before. All right, so I clicked, I got the event because now it has an event parameter, and I've just console logged the event. And this event listener is returning an event parameter actually in this function. That's why I use event. Every event listener, if you invoke a function, that always have an event object in it. So that's why you can get the event, you can get the event type, and even you can get the value of these buttons. So now what I will do is to check the target. Look, because it's an event, event has target. Target shows you which element is clicked. 7 is clicked. And then if you open this target, you can see inner HTML or inner text. Let's say inner text is 7. I need that because I will use in my calculator to grab that 7 value from here. Again, if you start from here, this is event. So this is event dot target dot inner HTML or inner text if you want. So let's check inner HTML or inner text. They are both string. So it's all up to you. You can get the inner HTML or you can get the inner text. I will continue with the inner HTML. So event dot target dot inner HTML. Look at here now. 7, 4, 1, AC, 0. This is how I can get any value from my buttons. Can you see? So I basically, you select the buttons, and then add the event listener on it, listen click event, and invoke this function whenever it is clicked. Inside this function, I accept an event parameter. That's because an event listener it returns an event parameter for me. Then I console log that event target inner HTML to get this text out. So now the next thing is, remember, let's convert this to an arrow function. And you know what? I'm not using the ABC function. Instead, I will replace this function anywhere I see ABC. Okay. And it will work like a charm. Okay. Now, it looks fine. Let's grab some tea, chai tea. It's a little bit spicy. Any question about this? Maybe you knew it. I just spent extra time. Or maybe it worked for you. Was it fine or just a wasted time because you knew it? What do you think? Did I waste your time to explain this stuff?
You did not, so.
All right, thank you. Yeah, because I don't know how much you learned, I'm not teaching you, but yeah, that's basically, sometimes the students get confused when they see this. It's basically a function. So grab this from here, assign it to a variable like this, const ABC, assign it to the variable, call ABC, is the same thing, but many people use the shorthand like this. Okay, so we got the number, but this time we need to print this number here instead of console log. Okay, next question. Did I grab this from HTML to the JavaScript? Not yet. So let's go, document query selector something. What was the name of that display? Is the primary display. So let's grab that from HTML to the JavaScript file now. Primary display is the class name. The same thing. I'm going to use the const primary. I think we can say primary display. Okay, equals. I'm using camel case, by the way, in the JavaScript files. Document query selector parentheses single colon dot this primary display. So I grab the primary display to the JavaScript now. Next, instead of console log, I will write it to here, which I will basically change the inner text of this to this. So instead of console log, I will say, instead of console log here, or I can keep it here actually, like. So instead of that, I'm going to change the inner, I think we can say inner text of what? Inner text of this primary area, which is primary display. Primary display dot inner. Can we say primary inner HTML or inner text? Let's try inner HTML to this. Okay, let's try. Refresh. I'm not sure if that works. 8 doesn't work. 9. Okay, well, we did something wrong here. I think we should use equal sign something. That's correct. This is correct now, I think. Let's see. 8, 9, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fire. Okay, nice. Something happening. And I hope something happened. That's because I click here. Anyway, we will fix that soon. But whenever I click the buttons, it's just copy its value to here, to the display area. But the thing is this. It's just replacing all the text. it should concatenate. Like when I type 158, it should written here 158. It should concatenate every text to there. Like I should say plus sign instead of equal, because if I say equal, it's just a sign. They exactly the same number, and every time you replace the number, the previous number with a new number. But if you have used the plus sign, it keeps the previous number and concatenate the new number to the previous one. So like this, 1, 2, 3. So it's fine. Now I can type anything here, except if you don't make any mistakes. We did a mistake anyway. Well, now I can concatenate, but there is a problem. 0. If okay, so as you see, we are just thinking very small bits. Okay, now I perfectly select my buttons, get the value out of it, and assign it to the primary display. But this time, if my primary display is 0 in the beginning, don't concatenate, because there is no number 0, 96. You have 96. Like if you look at this calculator, if you type 90, 96, 98, so the 0 should be removed. But in this example, it doesn't. It just concatenates. So now the next bit is the if. If there is a text here in the beginning and it's a 0, then just, concatenate. Sorry, don't concatenate the numbers like 0, 0, 0, 0. Let's refresh. 0, 0, 0, 0. Don't do this, because it's a calculator, and if you type 0 in the beginning, it shouldn't, concatenate. Well, it does for us. So I think here we need to check with if, with if. Okay, so let's do that. What I will do before this, to create a function, because it's good to have it more clear, or maybe before the function. Let's see if we can do it without function first, then we can convert it to the function. Okay, that's better, I believe. Okay, now, as you see, we have different operators as well. I don't want to write them in there, right? And it should be just numbers, right? Let's say whenever I type this, okay, let's print it here. But whenever I type plus, don't print out here, because I don't want them in the display, right? I just want to keep in memory, but not in the display. So I need to check if the type is number or function or operator, dot or decimal or equal sign. If you remember, in the index page, we separate them by saying a function class, number class, operator class, and the decimal class, equal class, and even the 0 for the 0. So we can now define them if they are number or not first, okay? I just want to print numbers here, okay? So before I print anything, I have to check with if. If is like my door, like a guard in the door. And before it opens, it just check if you match with the condition. So, well, I'm typing here basically an if, and then just say if that current value, let's say if, okay, and here. If the primary display text is 0, then I will just keep it 0 there, not include it anymore, 0. But if it is just except 0, and just include them, like concatenate them in the display. Okay, let's do this. Well, first we have to check if it is number or not, right? Okay, so first of all, let's check if this is the number or not. So how do we check if it is number? Remember, we have an event there. So event dot target dot class list. What does it mean? It grabs all the classes assigned to this element that you clicked. Let's say you clicked on number 7. By saying event.target.class list will bring this class list to you, button and number. Okay, let's see in a console log. Console log, event.target. You already know this, right? Event.target will just bring the element that you have clicked. So let's say again in the inspect in the console, let's see. Event.target will bring the element to you. And if you say inner HTML, it will bring the 7 to you. But if you say class list, it will bring, like if you say dot class list, will bring you this, an array with all the classes in, button and number, because its class names are button and number. Let's click on the division operator. So if you click on the division operator, you can see that it brings you button, operator, and division in the array. And you can see button, operator, and division. You have to know that this is an array, not a string. And you can use any array method on this, because this returns you an array. After this point, you can just use an array method, which is contains. Contains what? Let's say number. So this time it will return you true or false. Look, true because it's a number. True, it's a number. False because it's not number. How did I know that? Again, let's remove this once again and see that it returns you an array. In this array, do you see number? Yes. So the contains number will return you true because there is number inside it. But if you click this inside this array, do you see any number? No, because it does not have any number class here. So that's why it returns false. So that's how we can now detect the button is number or function or operator. So again, what if you have no idea how you can get this contains things out? Okay, basically, how to check if array includes a value in JavaScript. Okay, there's also even includes here. Contains and includes work very similarly. So you can use includes as well, a method. So this is how you usually go and check, because it's really hard to know everything in JavaScript, but you just write what you want there. Okay, how about class list? You have no idea, okay, about the class list. So how to get class names in JavaScript. So you will basically get this as an answer, the class name, or you will get through this like class list in one of the answers. So, well, that's how you usually can go and check out. But the important part is this, because I give the button number, because I know how to do that. So that knowledge gives me to give them a proper proper class names. And what makes me give the proper names is the practice. So don't worry if you can't get it now. But once you see this project solutions, that's why I'm here. When you see all these project solutions and all the developer, like how a developer sees and how a developer fixed this or solve this problem, then you will now understand the patterns of the developing JavaScript application. So that's why don't worry if you can't get it. Just try to understand that the event.target gives me the element that I have clicked on HTML, and class list give me the class list basically. Let's just look at this event once again. When you click, it will return you a full event. So it will return you a full event. Let's open this event object. Event target. Let's move to the target. So the target is this button. Look, even if you hold over on it, so you will see that which element you have clicked. If you open this, you can see the things that you can select after that. So if you say event.target, you can select all the other properties here in JavaScript. So the one of them is the class name and class list. So class name returns you a single string. If you can see here is a string, but class list returns you the array of the class names. So the class list actually that you can select, if you start from the top, so that's the event dot target dot class list. And then we continue with the include or contains, like contains here, dot contains, right? So this is basically how we go into, it's like a tree element. So we start from the beginning, which is event. So this is the event because we console log event. But this whole element is the event. Dot target, you just down in the tree and find the target. So this is the target. So if you use the dot again, now you can see all other properties that you want to use here, but we need the class list. So dot class list and includes, so contains, sorry, dot contains. Contains what? Number. Okay, you can see that contains is a function. So that's why you need to use parentheses like this. And inside, of course, what you want to be contained, number. So now you can detect if it is number or not. Check, yes, it's number. Check, it is not, because there's no number class inside this element. Or here, number, but also it's 0. And then anyway, so you can just check like this. All right, so now you see how we can get the if element that we click is a number or not. Next, we will use it in if. If there is a number that you have clicked. Okay, good. If the item is the number I have clicked, then if, okay, it's nice. I will use another if inside this if. If the first display number is not 0, because if it is 0, or if it is not 0, we will concatenate the numbers. Look at this now. Nothing works because I remove everything. Let's do this. If this text is not 0 or is 0, let's say is not 0 is better. Right, is not 0. Which is this primary display inner HTML. If primary display inner HTML is not 0, then we will use the same formula. Primary display is inner HTML plus equal event dot target dot inner HTML. Try. Refresh. What I just said here, first, detect if I clicked number, because if I didn't, then don't write anything in here. If I click number, no, it shouldn't work. It's not working. Let's try this. No.
String. You need to put in string.
Oh, string 0. Yeah, you're right. Thank you very much. Because they're all, yeah, they're all 0. Yeah, that's right. If you click 0, look, it's not concatenating anymore. But if you click any number, oops, it's not concatenating either. Well, what's wrong here? What's happening? If it is not 0, do this. Primary displays in HTML plus sign this. We can't do that. That's interesting now. Because now it's not 0. And it doesn't work. Even target inner. If you change this like this, because now if it is not 0, so it does everything. But if it is not 0, then it's automatically recognize everything as 0. No, it should work. I don't know. That's
Can you
interesting.
try inner text?
Inner text. We can try inner text. So which one inner text? This one or this one? Because let's try this. Let's console log. Let's console log and just say it's not 0. Okay, let's say it is not 0. Let's just say if that all, let's see if in the console, okay, and it doesn't really. So it doesn't detect in the primary displays in your HTML is not 0. Well,
So if you check inner text in the if statement, maybe try this one.
Yeah, let's try this one. Refresh. It doesn't still. It's not. Okay, I think there's a reason. What I will do, interesting, but what I will do, first I will check if it is equal. Okay, that might look a bit of interesting to you because usually you check not, then, but I will check if it is 0 first. Okay, so I used triple equal sign, and let's just console log. It's 0. And else, I think we can say else. Console. It is not 0. So, okay, let's just try this. 0 and also 0. That's interesting. Let's just find every element that I'm clicking. Oh, of course it's 0. Look, the primary area text is always 0. I have to check. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I got the point now. If it is the primary inner text is 0, and also I have to check if it is not 0, if the button I've clicked is not 0, not the primary display inner text is 0. Yes, primary text inner text is 0, as you can see. The primary text is 0. That's why it will always give you 0 when I click the button. But I have to check if the button I have clicked is not 0, not the primary display inner text. The button I've clicked is not 0. Okay, so that's the thing that I have to check. That's correct. So not the primary display, but it should be primary display. If the primary display, then the button as well. If the button is 0.
So you can now manipulate the primary display inner text. If the number is not 0, the current number. If it is number 0,
yeah,
make that number not 0, concat that number.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, first, if this number is okay, I'm checking because now let's try and understand how it works again. Okay, first, when I click 0, first I check if this is 0 or not. Yes, it is 0. Then check if it is 0 or not. It's also 0. So then if you do that, if you click that, don't work. Once again, if the primary display text is 0 and also the button I've clicked is 0, don't do anything. But if the primary text is 0 and the button you clicked is not 0, then replace the text 0 with the 1. And now if you click 0 again, look at this. If you click 0 again, if this is not 0, remember the function. So we need to use, reusable functions again here. So now if you click 0, it acts because the primary display is not 0. There is the logic here. Once again, that's important to understand. First, now let's do the reverse logic. I'm clicking number 1, and the primary display is 0. If I do, then it replaces my text. Okay, I'm clicking 0, but the primary text area is also 0 and have no action. That's because we can't concatenate 0 to the 0. But if the primary display is except any number except 0, now if you click 0, then you can concatenate. That's the logic now we are trying to implement. So we need to get the current value from here. So this is the current value, and this is the clicked value. So when they're both 0, don't do anything. Okay, like this. The primary display inner text is 0, and also, and I can use and the event that dot target dot inner HTML or inner text, inner HTML is also 0. Also 0. So they are both 0. When they are both 0, do nothing. So let's say do nothing. When they are both 0, do nothing. But if it is not, in the same time, but if it is, okay, let's do this. Else if primary display inner text is 0, okay, what I will do is replace 1 with the number you have got, like this. So if it is 0, but not the button that you clicked, like 9, I'm not clicking 0. Replace the current value with the one that you've clicked. So in here, I will say primary display inner text equals or assigned to the event target inner HTML. Now, the last one. If it is not the both, like, so let's say if it is not 0, and also the button you clicked is not 0, which is else, now concatenate any number you clicked to that inner text. So I'll say primary display plus equal, because it's concatenation, to this event element. I'm seeing some error here. Else if have to be space. Okay. Now let's see if that works in our calculator. Now, the first one, if the primary display in your text is 0, and also the event target HTML, which is the button I clicked, is 0, don't do any action and say do nothing. Oh, nice. If the the primary display inner text is 0, inner HTML, we can just inner HTML. Let's stick with the same value. So inner HTML is 0, but not the button you clicked. Is replace the 0 with the button that you've clicked. So replace the 0 with 9, which is equal. So we replaced. Now, which is not the case, which are not the cases. So if it is not 0, also the button that you click is not 0, then concatenate your numbers to the value up in the primary display, which is the third one. So I know it's quite confusing maybe, but this is basically how I think first. Get the logic, then use if only. But beside using if, we need to know how to select the correct element, like how to get the 0 from here, how to get the number from the button is this and this. This is basically how to get the current value. This is the clicked button. So what we can do is this. Before we start if, we can define them in the beginning. Let's say current value is like the primary value, or let's say the primary value. Let's get the primary const. Should we say let? Let's say let. Primary value. Okay, primary value, which is primary display inner text. That's it, or inner HTML. Okay, and the current or the clicked button, let's say let button value, okay, is now this. Nice. Now I can replace all this now, and which will be more easy to read. If primary value, let's start from here. If primary value is 0, and also the button value, so I think it's correct. So do nothing, because if they're both 0, do nothing. Don't concatenate the 0 to this. So that's the first one. But if the display is 0, but the button you click is not, which is primary display, which is second rule, this automatically fall back to second because this is not existed here. So that's why if this rule doesn't work, then it falls back to this rule. So the primary value iteration, let's say primary value is 0. Okay. And again, change the primary value. I'm not sure if that works to the button value. I think it will not work, but let's try. And if not, primary value concatenate the button value. So it's more readable. Okay, let's say if that works. 0, do nothing. 3, do nothing. As I said, I feel that it will not work, and it doesn't work. Yeah, because they are basically a variable, but we need to change the inner HTML. So what we can do, okay, what we can do basically to use this exactly is because we can't do assignment. We can do assignment between these variables, but this variables doesn't mean the inner HTML. We got the value, but we can't set the value. We get the value and assign to the primary value, but we can't set. To set, we need to use this. And also this. Now I think will work. Do nothing. This will just replace, and this will concatenate. Perfect. Now, finally, we make it work, this part, this bit. The next thing is to listen to operator. If the button that you clicked is an operator, to just check if it is an operator. So I think we can finish this in this lesson. Then you can apply the other rules, basically, and then make just equation when you click, so calculate it. That's it. So remember the last small exercise you have done. How did you get the plus or the multiplication or division signs, and how did you do the sec2 numbers? Because in this application, we have only two numbers, the number 1, and when you click the button, you will add the second number. So now we need to listen an operator. And again, instead of contains number, we will now check if it is an operator or not. After, if it is an operator, we will define which operator is it clicked. Is it division? If is it multiplication? Is it addition or subtraction? So let's do this. Okay, we are still inside the click event because it will happen as we clicked the button. Okay, so if that was number, do this. Now, if it is not number, but operator, let's do something else. If event target class list contains operator. Have you listened to Smooth Operator? I think the song name is a nice song, if I'm not wrong. Operator. All right, so now I can listen if that button is an operator. So I will basically first the console log the button value first. How can I get the button value? Is the button value is basically this. Okay, let's console log the button value. If it is operator, which means if it is not operator, don't print out anything, don't console log out anything. So if it is number, don't console log. But if it is operator, console log the value. Nice. The next is after you click this, to get the type of it. Okay, get the type of this, then you can make calculation. Okay, so let's check the type of the operator. Switch case may be a good option for this because we have 4 cases. You can use if else if you want, but there's another way that you can, I think you did use in the last exercise, is the switch and case. So we can use the same stuff here. So let's try switch. Okay. So what is the button value? The button value is exactly the operator. Okay, so we got this as a button value. So now we will use the switch. Switch what? Button value. And if the case is plus, so we will make an addition. Okay. Well, the thing is, how can you get the second number? Because, all right, I got the plus, but then what about, how can I make the calculation? How can I keep this sign somewhere? So I have to remember in somewhere that I have clicked that button, like the operator button, because now I've entered a number. As soon as I click the plus or any operator buttons now, just listen. I need to remember my number, which is 965. And also I need to remember my operator. Then when I enter the second number, I will get the first number from somewhere I stored, get the operator somewhere I stored, then get the third value I just enter, and just make the equation. Okay, so that's how it works, right? All right. So, if I say store in somewhere, we need to have a variable. And this variable should be global. That's because when we click that equal sign, and then these global variables will automatically come, and then we will calculate it. Okay. So, all right. When I click any operator button, I need to store it a variable. So I need to create a variable first. Because this happens every time I click the button, why not? We make it in the event listener, like here. Let operator empty. We have no operator at the beginning, right? At the beginning of the app, we have no operator. But when you click, we need to assign the operator with that any of this item. So let's do this. Instead of console log the button value, let's do this. First, assign the button value to operator, then console log the operator. Why? Let's see. Do exactly the same thing, but this time I assign it to the operator, and then I am just console logging the operator. Okay, now I can see this operator has been replaced with any operator that I have entered. That's fine. I will not do anything else in this if section. Okay, now I need, oh, wait. So we got the first number. Okay, we need one more first number, which is also empty at the beginning. As soon as you click any operator, like in here, as soon as you click any operator, one, as I said, okay, let's say you enter some number, got it. But did you finish it? How do you know it's your first number? Until you click any operator. So until you click an operator, you don't know what's your first number. Like this, we don't know our first number. But when I click the operator button here, I assign my operator to here and also assign the current value to the first number. So first number is going to be my current value, which is primary display in HTML. I'm not sure if we can get the primary value. Is it? Yeah, we can get it. Let's try. And console log the first number. Okay, if that first number shows me 658 here, it's correct. Yes, I got my first number. I got my operator. Now I'm waiting for my second number. Then I will click equal sign. Okay. When I click an operator, let me do this. In this exercise, it's just adding, like when you click an operator, it just add the first number and the plus sign replacing the first string, right? So like the secondary. So this area is secondary display. Let's do this. As soon as you click this operator, like here, we're still in here. As soon as you click an operator, let's do this. Secondary area, we have the primary display, so the secondary display. Let's select the secondary display this time. I'm just replacing all the primary with the secondary. Now I have the secondary display because this top area in my HTML is the secondary display. Guess what? As soon as you clicked, you can watch here, as soon as you clicked any operator, look at this, it just moved to the top with the current value and also the operator. Here it is. Now, okay, right here, secondary displays inner HTML, okay, secondary display, oops, secondary displays inner HTML is going to be the concatenation of first number and, let's do this concatenation type, the operator. Look at this, the first number and the operator. Let's try, refresh. This is my first number, but I don't know yet until I click this. And when I click, let's just move to the secondary area. And we'll be expecting this to be 0 once again. So let's do this. Sorry, it's not the primary display inner text, inner HTML is going to be reset, which is 0 equals to 0 once again, but let's make it string 0. Okay, let's do once again. I type my first number. When I click any operator here, it just move it to the top and return it to the 0. Everything happens here. That's just the operator. When you click operator, when you click numbers, it happens. This if. If you click operator, this happens. Okay. Now we need to wait an equation. Sorry, we need to add second number like we did, and listening for equal sign. Let's do the last one. Sorry, we just missed a bit of 2 minutes past. So let's just fix it quickly. If, how can I know it is the equal sign? Let's check if my equal sign has an special class equal. Beautiful. Now I can say event target class this contains equal is my equal key. What I will do, get the first value from first value, get my operator from operator, get my second value from this display, which is primary inner display, primary display inner text, and make the calculation. That's it. So now switch case, switch. And this time we need to get operator. Which sorry, where the operator comes from? The operator is coming from here. Okay, switch. If the case is plus, oops, sorry. Okay, well, we need okay, we need a result. Yes, just return. I think we can just okay. What we can do is secondary display, which is secondary display. Okay, do I need a secondary display? No, we need a primary display. Just thinking, sorry. If it is plus sign, let's look at here. If it is plus sign, so the last one is plus, get the first value, get the second. Okay, primary displays. Okay, all right. Yes, this is the correct answer. So the primary displays inner HTML. Okay, inner HTML is equal to, because I want to give the result on this area. Look at this, 8, 9. So the result is here, primary display. Okay, so I will show my result in here, in the primary display. Inner HTML is going to be first number plus again primary displays inner HTML. And I will make the secondary display empty. Okay, let's just try this addition case. And I think you can do this for the others. Refresh. Okay, make it very basic. 7 plus, oops, it gives 0, it's 70. Why is that? So we have a bug. Plus. Hey, we didn't have that. That's because because of this. No, we didn't enter yet. Oh yeah, it's not operator, it's equal. Okay, when we type equal, sorry, when we type equal now, sorry. No, I think it will work. 7 plus, wow, nice. 7 plus 5. When I say equal, I should say 12 here, and this display should be cleared, and it doesn't. All right, it doesn't happen.
Should you
Well,
return a break there or something?
oh, maybe you're right. Let's try this. Let's try this. And should I have a default? I'm not sure. Let's try this. 7 plus 5 equal. No, it doesn't get the equal, I believe. To just say, okay.
I think it's because, can you scroll up?
Yes.
Define equal, right?
Keep going. See, that's the problem. You're only
Because
you're not
the
setting
operator, it does not
the value of
recognize
the
the
first
operator.
number.
It's empty.
Yeah, it
You need to
doesn't-
define the other, yes, outside the function.
See how you're adding first number? The first number is empty.
The problem is that you need to define some things globally. Operator and first number should be defined globally, not inside that function.
Yeah,
So
should be const.
You're right.
if you define inside that function, it will be always empty string,
Okay.
and operator always will be.
You're right. You're right. So let's make it global. So not in here. So because every time I click, that will be empty out. Okay, that was the problem. Okay, thank you very much. Now I get the point. So when I put it in here, every time I click any button, it's just cleared out. That's the problem. But now I need to make it global anytime. So now I can access anytime in any other. Okay, I got the point. Now this time, let's try once again. So all the logic should be correct, except there's operators and first number. So let's try 7 plus 5. 7 to 5 is concatenation. Perfect. That's because we need to convert them to not string, but a number. So we have several different ways. You can make a parse float, parse integer. I think parse float will be fine because sometimes you need the decimal points here. So let's try. What I basically do is the number like this. Convert this first number to the number, and also convert this to the number. And let's try this. Refresh once again. 7 plus 5 equal 12. Perfect. But the secondary display inner HTML will be 0. Once again, 7 plus 5 equal 12. Whoa! Can we try plus? Wow, it's still working. Oh, I made by mistake and it's working. And 5, it's working. AC doesn't work because when you click AC, so you will clear this out. Ah, beautiful. By mistake, I found a nice way that you can continue calculation. And now it didn't because I didn't make the case for multiplication. Perfect. I know this is not very clear code. If I had a time, I would refactor all my codes actually to separate them to have functions, because I repeatedly use same thing. Like you can see here, the primary display inner HTML, secondary display inner HTML, primary display inner HTML. So I'm repeatedly using the same thing. I would use a kind of a function here, or just define a variable. But now we don't have time, but we have a working application. All right, I'm happy.
Could you send the updated files?
Yes, let me do it. So that's my solution, but of course you need to add the other options and also the clearing out. Basically it's working fine. You can update a little bit more if you want, like changing the colors until you get the exact result. Anyway, so you can watch here. So for example, you got the number, so it's just gray out, something like this maybe if you want. So let me share, and I think I will push this. It's not a full solution again, but
It's better than nothing. It's like
it gives you the idea.
it
How
is.
did I select? How did I know it's a number? How did I know it's operator? How do I know it's a function button? So I basically define them in the event listener. So this is the separation of every buttons types that you can detect and do whatever you want. Yeah. Okay, so now I am adding into the class chat, and I think that's all. Yes, in the class chat, I'm sharing a new JavaScript section here. So that's my JavaScript code. JavaScript app.js. For iOS calculator. And create the snippet. All right, so I think you will get it soon. Okay. All right, I believe you've got it. All right, all right. So, yeah. Anytime, if you're stuck with any point, just send me a message in the Slack,